Tonight, one of those stories centers around a 15-year-old boy named Phoenix North who nearly died as his mother sat by his side holding on to a glimmer of hope that her son will one day walk or even talk again. Like most boys, Phoenix North loves basketball. He made his freshman team at Imlay High School. The youngest of three, Phoenix grew up on a 40-acre farm surrounded by extended family. It was rural and peaceful.
He loved to chop wood, he loved to go hunting, he loved to help his grandfather outside doing chores and taking care of the animals.
Phoenix lived carefree until January 4th of last year. He was doing basketball drills at school. Then suddenly, he fell and slammed his head to the hardwood floor. Everything goes black, including his memory.
I remember I couldn't move my left arm, I couldn't speak.
By the time his mom reaches him, he's on an ambulance stretcher, holding his head and screaming.
A doctor looked at me and he said, "Your son is having a massive stroke."
Phoenix was flown from a Lapeer County hospital to Detroit receiving. His mom thought,
"This isn't real. This is a bad dream." I'm sorry.
It seemed more like a nightmare. Lee Green watched as her 14-year-old son went into a grand mal seizure. He lost consciousness and had violent muscle contractions.
A doctor came out and sat down beside me and she said, "There's a massive clot in your son's carotid and there's nothing we can do. The stroke is over."
An emergency surgery to remove his skull to relieve the swelling followed, then life support and a coma for 2 weeks. The swelling was still so severe, he had to undergo a second emergency surgery.
And it was at that point in time that they let us know, this isn't a life-saving event. Call your family. We had family come in from all over the country to say goodbye.
Miraculously, 10 hours later, Phoenix was in the intensive care unit, and 30 days after that, Phoenix was headed to the DMC's Rehabilitation Institute of Michigan in Detroit.
And I kept thinking, I can't do this, I can't watch it. And they just kind of looked at me and said, "Why are you doubting? He's gonna be fine."
Phoenix was in bad shape.
He wasn't even able to hold up his own head. He had no facial expression. He couldn't talk. His vocal cords were paralyzed and he had a trach. He was on a feeding tube.
Unable to talk after his massive stroke, Phoenix used something he learned in elementary school to communicate with the surgeons.
I started to sign.
You started to sign? And who taught you how to sign?
Elementary school.
Were you afraid? What was going through your mind?
I would never be able to talk again or move.
Then 10 days into rehab, another setback. Phoenix would not stop vomiting and was rushed back into surgery to have his skull placed back over his brain.
They pushed him harder. The harder they pushed him, the harder he worked. And miracles were happening before our eyes every day.
The two people leading the way, his therapists, Hally and Kate, who turned tragedy into triumph.
I think that anybody comes through something like that tragic, there's a reason for it, and our job is to get them back to their life. So, other hospitals save their life, and we're there to give them their life back.
With Katie, we're very serious, and me and Ollie are very sarcastic to one another, but he loves me, and I love him. We're kind of like brothers.
He's a great kid. He's one of those cases that you get very, very few in a lifetime.
They used everything to motivate Phoenix to move and to walk, from his everyday interests to music. Then 9 weeks to the day, Phoenix was carried into RIM on a stretcher. He was walking out with a cane. What did you tell other people 9 weeks later? I mean, how do you describe what happened to Phoenix?
That he's a miracle.
You've come so far. I mean, from a doctor telling your mom that you'd never walk again, never live. Wow, did someone tell you those words? And so what do you say to other people?
Never give up.
Pretty amazing. And believe it or not, Phoenix is now the manager of his high school's basketball team, and he's now taking some regular courses at school. His mom says she could not have made it without her family and her community, which raised $19,000 for Phoenix's medical bills. And the DMC's Rim, well, they work magic day in and day out. We're just happy we get to share some of it with you. Carolyn Clifford, 7 Action News.